Hello, all my aliens, and welcome to the call center at the end of the universe. I am your host, the CS Guy, and this is the premiere episode of the Water Cooler Review, Season 1, Episode 1. We watched He-Man, Masters of the Universe, the 1987 version. This movie started Dolph Lundgren as He-Man. You had John Cypher as Man-at-Arms, Chelsea Field as Teela, Billy Barter as Gwildor, Robert Duncan McNeil as Kevin, Courtney Cox as Julie, Frank Lagaria as Skeletor, Meg Foster was Evil Lynn, and James Tolkien was Detective Lupin. This movie was a blast from the past, from times of childhood and Saturday morning cartoons. It reminded me of how primitive we were back in the graphics and the storytelling. It definitely reminded me of the late 1980s of 1980s movies. So basically, He-Man has one of the cosmic keys. This device lets him travel through space and time. It really felt like they took the Star Wars story and then they grabbed a little bit from Conan the Barbarian. They put it in the back, they shook it up, and pulled stuff out. The Skeletor's forces had really a strong feel of the stormtroopers. They had the helmets and the laser guns and all of it. And just like the classic stormtroopers, they can't hit the right side of the barn. Though later in the movie, we did see the impossible where stormtrooper actually did manage to hit He-Man. You know, I guess there's a first for everything. Basically, the key gets activated. Skeletor has the good princess trapped. He-Man and their team tries to go save her, and they need to escape. They activate their key, and they find themselves on a different world. And they end up being on Earth. This is kind of where they will end up meeting Julie. They end up getting right outside at this roadside chicken and ribs place. Who knew you can get a bucket of fried chicken with ribs in them? And apparently, like, her parents had just died. For what it seemed, it was like real recent. And she had like no effect that her parents were gone. You think that she'd be really distraught, and she's this seemed like, oh, it's another day. Julie had also told somebody in the restaurant that she worked with that she was gonna go away, and when she was ending things for her boyfriend Kevin. Classic bad graphics when Skeletor forces will follow through their own portal, as well as whole 9 yards. It was bad. It was really, really, really bad. There, at one point, Skeletor forces come through, and there's like this big chain link, and they're slashing away, and you can see obvious holes in the fence right in front of you, and you just think they would just reach there and pull. Nope, it reaches way across from the edge of the screen and pulls the fence over, nowhere near where they were cutting. This was so bad. It really had that classic B movie feel. But apparently they used their budget for the movie, for the soundtrack, by getting Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix. And they had other few big artists. It had the Tony Khan kind of feeling, where money was just liquid as long as you're just buying songs. When Kevin and Julie was trying to figure out what this item was, it would play this music and kick up a very, very bad graphics light show. And then they take it to the record store. The clerk goes, well, this must have been made in Japan. Classic 80s thinking that anything electronic and you don't know what it is, well, Japan made it. Also, you had another classic 80s thinking with Detective Lupic, played by James Tolkien. He goes in the house, Julie's house, that had all the boxes with Kevin. They're looking for her. And just, steps in the house nonchalantly, lights up his cigarettes and starts to smoke. Not even like, hey, can I light up in here? Do you mind? Nope, just what it was. And guys, it's kind of how it was back in the day. We could smoke. We smoked anyway. We didn't ask. There were kids in the car. You smoked. It was no big deal. The one little bright spot of this movie was that they gave Gwildor really good one-lines. He was a very good cosmic relief. He was played by Billy Barter. He made you laugh. He made the movie somewhat bearable. Basically, Skeletor, comes to Earth to take care of them after his first force couldn't destroy him. They get a little battle. Julie gets hurt. He captures He-Man because he was going to kill them all. He-Man goes freely with them, but Skeletor destroys the key. And, they're like, well, we're stuck here now. And they're like, oh, well, can we fix it? They're like, yeah, if you have this cosmic thing, and you have this, and Man-at-Arms had one of them, and Teela had the other one, and then they, needed something with the sound, and Kevin's like, I have this old little 1980s keyboard. So they get it, they hook it up this power thing, and they play the tune, because Kevin had this ear, could remember everything, a portal opens up, and they go back to Grayskull. And before that, Skeletor, has He-Man there chain up. They're whipping him with this really bad red razor lip. And Skeletor's like, at midnight, you're going to bow and acknowledge me in front of all the people on our planet. And you're going to acknowledge me. And so when the time comes, the eye opens up and you see 5 people. Five people out there. 2 of those 5 people were like prisoners and all chained up. It was really, really bad. Just left me just speechless. Some massive population. You did have a decent fight scene where Skeletor uses He-Man's sword after he captured him. And Skeletor got all powerful and had the gold. He-Man escapes, gets the sword back. You have the classic, and the only time in the movie, mind you, He-Man takes the sword out. I have the power. They have this big little fight scene. The fight scene was actually decent. This is where the Conan the Barbarian came in, because that's kind of where the Conan feel came from it. The biggest problem was He-Man goes to hit Skeletor. Skeletor parries the blow with his staff. Just a deflection, and then all of a sudden Skeletor's all gold and extra power goes away. They go more fighting, and then you had to leave on that classic Star Wars feel where He-Man knocks him down this long chamber. Skeletor's falling back, and even one point has red lightning cue in the Emperor shooting out of his hand. They get everything, and they go back and they go back a little bit of time, about like a couple of days, so Julie's parents was around. So if you're bored, I am going to give this movie a 2.2 water cups out of 10. Yeah, you heard it. A 2.2 water cups out of 10. If you're bored and you want a good laugh, like you liked He-Man back in the day and you loved train wrecks, definitely check this out. Grit your teeth and hold on and be like He-Man and go, I have the power to withstand this. Thank you, everybody. This has been Season 1, Episode 1 of the Water Cooler Review. And until the next time we meet, my therapist once told me, well, if you gotta go, you gotta go.